hello. It's been a while since I've uploaded a show. Gotta flow back into the mojo. Schedule slow, but motherfucker, I'm a pro, yo.
What's going on around table? My name is Excaliber596. I know I said that my next video would be a versus battle between Dante and Link, but after looking at my last video about Dante and some of the comments that followed, I had a few comments bringing about some new information that I wasn't previously aware of regarding Dante. So I decided to do a little bit of extra research, and I realized I may have screwed the stinky little pooch on that video just a bit regarding how powerful Dante is and my stance on a few of his feats. I asked you guys whether or not I should just add this to the Dante vs. Link video, or if I should make the information its own separate video, and you guys seem to like the idea of a part 2. And I mean, hey, Link had both a part 1 and a part 2, so why not make one for Dante correcting my mistakes? Thus, here we are. So the first thing I wanted to do in this video was correct a few of the bigger mistakes that I made in the original. First off was saying that Dante has a weakness to holy weaponry.
The power of Christ compels you.
The power of Christ compelling me? Is that what's happening?
The power of Christ compels you.
Guess what? It's not that compelling.
What I actually didn't realize at the time was that there is holy weaponry in DMC in the form of an item known as holy water. It's described as being divinely blessed and can be a powerful AoE attack against demons when used, but using it doesn't affect Dante, which means holy items and weaponry won't neg his regen as I initially thought they would. The third kind of mistake I made was not including the amulets from DMC2 and the time bangle from DMC1, but in all honesty, it doesn't really change much. The time bangle and Chrono Heart are just kind of less useful versions of his Quicksilver style, because the time bangle replaces Dante's ability to use Devil Trigger, and the Chrono Heart, like the other amulets, only work in his Devil Trigger state, whilst Quicksilver can work fine in both states. Most of the other amulets are pretty useless too, as most of their added effects Dante already has when using the Devil Trigger state, and as he can only equip one at any given time, I would say the best option for him would be the offense heart to give him a slight boost in power. Now, along with these corrections, I'd like to move on to exactly how powerful I think Dante is, but before I do that, I feel like I need to go into a bit more detail on answering a big question in Devil May Cry Powerscaling. Is Dante universal? And the answer is maybe, but most likely no. Now, the reason I talk about this seriously instead of just ing it like I did before is because more evidence has been brought up regarding the subject that honestly had to get me thinking a bit. So perhaps I shouldn't have been as dismissive as I was about the idea and should have went into a little bit more detail on why a universal Dante just doesn't really work. The first reason I see universal Dante being an issue is due to a lack of sufficient evidence.
That's a squatch!
Because although there is evidence to back up the claim, none of that evidence is extremely solid or concise. Let me explain how I go about things so you can understand my viewpoint a little better. So here we have Supersonic, someone that I've power scaled before on this channel. In my Death Battle debunk video, I claimed that Supersonic was beyond universal. Now, saying that any character is even universal, let alone beyond universal, is a very large claim to make, and you need to have extremely solid evidence before you can be taken seriously. As highly regarded American astronomer Carl Sagan would say, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Now, for Supersonic, I said this is due to his many fights with Universal Plus level characters. Thus, I need to prove with solid evidence that the characters he fought are also universal and that there are enough characters that fit this description so that there are absolutely no chance of there being outliers. So, in this case, there's the Egg Salamanders, who were stated in-game to be trying to combine both Sonic and Blaze's universes into one in order to rule over both. There's the Egg Wizard, who used the power of the stars, a power said to keep multiple universes from instability. There's the Time Eater, who was stated to erase time and space and affected multiple timelines, including a timeline that was previously erased from existence. And finally, Solaris, who is stated to be able to destroy all existing timelines and is beyond the concept of time itself. All of this evidence came directly from the primary source and is very clear and solid evidence to support my previous claim, and even if an area gets debunked, there is still enough irrefutable evidence to support it. Thus, Supersonic being beyond universal has solid reasoning and can be taken as true. Now, let's take this logic and apply it to Dante. The reasons that fans believe Dante to be universal are because he defeated supposedly universal characters like Mundus and Argosax. First up is Mundus. In DMC1, it was stated by the creator of Devil May Cry, Hideki Kamiya, that Mundus created a universe in their final fight with stars in the background and everything, right? Seems pretty solid at first. Word of God is an extremely viable source of evidence to support a claim. But once you start to dig into it, it kinda starts to fall apart. First of all, and I know people who believe in this are gonna start to groan at this, but I find this to be a legitimate point, Hideki Kamiya is a huge troll, and does not take power scaling seriously. He's blocked people who have asked about it, has answered questions with one word without going into detail, and has purposely been vague about questions regarding the subject. The man responded to a power scaling question with "Ask your mom," for crying out loud, which is honestly hilarious, but that's not the point. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I heavily respect Hideki Kamiya as a creator, but is it really too far of a stretch to say that we should be dismissive of his answers on power scaling, considering he's so dismissive of the questions? But that's not even the main comment that shoots this point in the foot. The main argument I have for this is that Hideki Kamiya has even stated himself that the Devil May Cry series is out of his hands, and that asking him about his opinions on the series is a pointless endeavor. So I feel that a Death of the Author claim has a strong case here. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Mundus did create something with space and stars around it, so that would at least make him galaxy level, right? Well, pocket dimension creation can be more so considered an ability rather than a feat. Take Naruto's final villain, Kaguya Otsutsuki, for example. Kaguya has the ability to create multiple dimensions the size of a planet, possibly even with stars in them, but is only considered planetary to star level when she destroys her dimension with the expansive truth-seeking orb. But according to Mundus logic, she should be considered multi-planet to multi-solar system level due to how many dimensions she actually created, which series-wise is absolutely ridiculous, and not a lot of fans believe that. So I believe Kaguya's same logic should be applied to Mundus in this case. Also, without the Kamiya statement, we can no longer know definitively whether or not Mundus actually created anything. Demons have shown the ability to teleport in Devil May Cry. Mundus could have just teleported Dante to a place that matches the description of the battlefield. Point is, we don't know for sure, making this feat kind of invalid. The other reason Dante is considered universal is due to defeating Argosax in Devil May Cry 2, whose presence was uniting the human realm with the demon realm, both of which supposedly describing our universe, according to the DMC1 guidebook, and an infinite dimension, according to this manga stand, respectively. So the first thing I want to mention is that the Japanese word for universe, sekai, can also be translated to either the world or society, meaning that anytime you see the English word universe in a Japanese original property, there's always the chance of a mistranslation, meaning that the scan from the DMC1 guidebook could very well be translated to "The Emperor of the Dark must be stopped in his attempts to take over the world." My main point is that the human world could simply be Earth as a result of mistranslation. It's also been described as Earth in DMC2. Not the world, Earth, which is Chikyu in Japan. As for why the demon realm is not infinite in size, this would mean that Argosax was most likely bringing a planet-sized demon realm into the planet-sized human realm, showing no signs of any universal feats in the series. Now, for some of you, this may not be enough. Maybe you're saying something like, well, there's nothing stating the human world isn't the universe, even by the mistranslation thing, so that means Mundus could be a universal threat, and because the demon realm is parallel to the human realm, that could mean Argosax was bringing an infinite demon realm to the human realm, right? Well, the problem with that idea is the fact that they don't really show the story going on that large of a scale at any point in the franchise. For instance, the creators of Devil May Cry decided to specify humans in many cases in lore throughout the timeline, like our world being known as the human realm, or that demons gain power from human blood, or that a human soul is why Dante and the cast are so much more powerful than the other demon. Due to these kinds of titles, bringing Devil May Cry to a universal scale creates a lot of questions that don't have a legitimate answer. Like, why would Mundus want to take over the universe if humans are the source of demonic power? Or why would the Qlipoth, supposedly the source of all life in the verse, only grow on Earth and in the demon realm? Now, I'm not saying that the reason that Dante isn't universal is because spooky space aliens don't show up and cause a ruckus. That would be ridiculous. But I'd be more inclined to believe a universal scale if the creators of DMC wouldn't have specified humanity as a major component in how the verse functions. Like, if they had referred to our world as the mortal realm or the living realm, names that could reach out to a universal scale rather than keeping it so close to home with the human realm, I'd be more inclined to believe a universal scale. However, if you took the scale from being universal to just being Earth, a lot of these problems are rectified.
Works for me.
Ditto.
Me too.
Yeah, but how did you and Erwin's mom...
Leaving a whole lot of questions that don't need to be answered.
Contextually, this would mean that the DMC-1 guide translation was most likely referring to the Earth, and that the demon realm is most likely around Earth's size, more or less. If that's not enough to convince you, honestly, I don't know what will. So now that I've said what I wanted to say, what does that mean for Dante's power level? With all this new information, I can say that Dante is actually stronger than I thought he was, just not universal level strong. Now, another thing that I missed when power scaling Dante was the description on Dante's Beowulf Devil Arm. It states that one of its attacks creates a small supernova, which would make Dante dwarf star level in base as of DMC3. I remember seeing it during my research, but I'm not completely sure why I didn't include it. Perhaps I saw it as too much of an outlier or considered a hyperbole, but with the new conclusions that I've made about the DMC verse as a whole, it seems a little bit more consistent, meaning that this can be used for the final scaling. So before I end this off, I'd like to give you guys a revamped power scale of Dante from Devil May Cry. DMC3 base Dante should be around dwarf star level from the description on the Beowulf gauntlets. DMC1 base Dante should be around star level after the time skip. The animes base Dante should be around star plus between DMCs 1 and 2. DMC2 base Dante, along with Mundus, Argosax, and Abigail, should be around large star level scaling from previous Dantes. DMC5 base Dante, along with Urizen and base Virgil, should be solar system level due to the power boost from fusing the Rebellion with the Sparta. DMC5's Devil Trigger Dante should be around solar system level plus from the 2x increase. And finally, DMC5's Sin Devil Trigger Dante should be multi-solar system level from the 8x increase to his base. Now, before you guys go, I'd like to give a quick shout out and thanks to another smaller YouTuber that helped me out with this video a little bit. His name is Zimatorn, and he's a Devil May Cry YouTuber who made a video critiquing my original video on Dante, and he and his buddies pointed out a lot of mistakes I made and brought up some interesting points about a universal Dante that really challenged me in terms of finding ways to think about how to properly represent him in my future versus battles. And while we don't necessarily agree about how powerful Dante is as a character, it's clear that he knows his stuff about the series, so if you're a fan of Devil May Cry at all, I suggest you check him out and see if you like him. I'd also like to thank all of the commenters who pointed out the holes I made in my research and helped me fill it up. Next time I upload will be the one true Link vs. Dante video, so look forward to that, and leave any suggestions for future power scaling and versus battle videos in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will call you guys for the next council. Later!